I think it's a matter of a constant effort to bring people together around the discussion around what are we trying to achieve here, and making sure that the discussion is based around that this is a system that needs to be thought about cohesively. The policy people will have an imagined way of it being implemented, and the operational people will have a practical way of implementing it that is not necessarily informed by that. In an ideal world, you have the policy people engaging very directly and regularly with the operational people in the design of the regime, and the operational people engaging with the policy people as they go about the implementation process, even if it's in a discussion-based kind of approach, to check in as to whether or not what's being achieved is what was intended with the policy. And I don't think it matters whether the policy and the operations activities are kind of vertically integrated in an organisation or whether they're in separate organisations. I think the gulf exists regardless because of the very different nature of the people involved. So you have to have consistent mechanisms that drive communication and engagement. Even when you think about arrangements where you have an operational agency separate to the policy agency, I don't recall ever engaging in discussions about how we're going to measure the outcomes of these things jointly. So I think there's a lot of opportunity around that is still waiting to be exploited. So thinking about where the sort of policy operations thing has worked well, it's been for me built on relationships and trust and willingness to bring people into the tent early and on the basis that everybody's in it together to achieve the same kind of outcome. So it's been where in a policy change there's been a deliberate engagement with the operational people, and the operational people have felt like their engagement has been valued and respected, and they can see elements of their input reflected in the output of the policy activity. Where I've seen that work quite well because people have bought into it in the development or the redevelopment phases. Where you get something thrown over the fence after the policy development, it's extraordinarily difficult at the operational level to implement in the way that was intended because there's no connection between the body of thought that went into it and you just doing what you have to do anyway, which is you're relying on the written letter of the statute or the rule or whatever. I think it also helps a lot where you have people that have worked in both sides. And calling it sides is a bit extreme in a way, but if you've got operational experience and you move into a policy role, then I think you're inherently going to have a better understanding of what good regulatory design looks like from an actual implementation perspective. And I don't know, it feels like it might be a bit more common for operational people actually to move into the policy space, but not the other way around so much until you get to the leadership level. And that's where I think you get the challenge of wanting to make sure that if you're a person with a policy background and you're moving into an operational leadership role, it's important to understand that you have to make a transition.